Hi, my name's Scott the Miniature Maniac, and today we're talking about how photo stacking can help your miniature photography. What up, Mini family? In the past, I've done videos about photography concerning the miniature community, but I haven't done one in a while, so I figured it was time. So let's start with two problems that people often have when photographing miniatures. Number one, you're trying to photograph something that is large or is a unit of people, and a portion of your photo is in focus, but the rest is out of focus. This could be an effect that you want, but oftentimes when you're taking pictures of an entire army or a unit, you want all the dudes to be in focus. Number two, you don't have very much light and your pictures turn out dark. Photo stacking can solve both of these problems, but first, what is it? Put very simply, photo stacking is the idea of taking multiple photos with identical framing and piecing together the parts of each photo that you want to keep to create one beautiful, in-focus image. So, let's do that. Here we have a Tree Lord Ancient from the game Age of Sigmar ready for a photo. It's all nicely lit, and the exposure settings on my camera are exaggerated to demonstrate this idea of photo stacking. When I snap the photo, a large portion of the miniature is out of focus, so let's fix this with some photo stacking. You're going to need three things. One, something to stabilize your camera, whether it's a tripod and a fancy camera or a cell phone and a desktop tripod. You need to ensure that the camera is not moving in between pictures at all. Number two, you need a way to remotely take a photo, whether that's with a timer or with some kind of remote to take your photo. And number three, your camera needs to be able to change the focal distance. Normally this is done with a camera lens, but my Pixel 3 can also do it with this app called Manual Cam Lite. Alright, you got your tripod, you got your lens that allows you to change your focus gradually, and you got your timer set up. Let's snap a few photos. I'm going to line up the focus on the first element I want to be in focus, which is the forwardmost element of the Tree Lord. I'll then take a photo and proceed to move the region of focus back, taking a photo every step of the way until the portion of the Mini that is furthest from the camera has been photographed. There is no predetermined amount of photos. Take as many as you need to ensure that everything on your Mini is in focus at some point. The shallower your depth of field, that is, the lower your f-stop number, the more pictures you should and the more gradual your steps should be. If you don't do enough gradual steps, you'll get portions of the photo that are fuzzy, like in this example. Okay, now I have about 10 photos or so, and I'm going to stitch them all together with Photoshop's image stacking feature. Basically, Photoshop's going to determine for me which portions of each photo to keep and then export one nicely in focus image. It's really simple with Photoshop. You import all your images as an image stack under the scripts menu under File. Then you select all the layers by shift-clicking them in the Layer panel and selecting Edit Auto Blend Layers. Some processing time later, Photoshop pops out a photo that has all the images blended together. Now I hear you saying, "Scott, I don't have Photoshop," which is a pretty reasonable thing to say. Adobe products aren't known for being inexpensive. If you Google free image stacking software, you'll find a lot of alternatives. One that I've used in the past is Combine ZP, and it's adequately capable and produces great results. I ran the same photos through Combine ZP and I got pretty much an identical result. It's really simple. You select the new option, select all the photos that you want to be in an image stack. I changed the option to all methods and hit go. Once it was done, I had a nice photo which I then exported. It's worth mentioning that there are multiple ways to solve the problem of a shallow depth of field. You could close down your aperture more or use a higher f-stop value. You could physically move the camera farther away from what you are photographing or optically zoom it out and then digitally zoom in post. But these things kind of fall short when you're taking a picture of a large unit. Some parts of the unit are still out of focus even when you do this. Also, photo stacking allows you to use the exposure you want and also the framing you want without needing to do any modifications in post. Also, this video is about photo stacking, and I've talked about those things in the past, so you want to hear about the magic of photo stacking. Earlier in the video, I mentioned that this can help with images that are darker, and here's why. Say I want to take a picture of this group and I have a weak light, so my image turns out dark. Your next move would be to expose brighter. One way of doing that is by turning up your ISO. The problem with turning up your ISO is your image can oftentimes get grainy if you go too high. In fact, that's what happens when you shoot on automatic exposure with your phone oftentimes. If you take multiple photos with the same exposure, same focal distance, same everything, and stack them up in an image stacking software, the resulting photo will be noise-free. The steps to do this in Photoshop are a little bit different than the focus stacking steps, and I have them linked in the description below. You can also do the same thing and combine ZP. But how does this work? The image stacking software is basically doing a form of a logical AND, which you'll understand if you took discrete mathematics. It's comparing the photos and discovering what's different between each one, then removing the difference. Only items that stay the same in each photo remain in the final picture. Because the model and the background are stationary, it remains the same and thus remains in the final photo. But each individual grain of noise changes in each photo, so it gets removed. Pretty cool. Alternatively, you could shoot at an incredibly wide open aperture, a low f-stop number, which would normally give you ridiculously shallow depth of field. But with focus stacking, you can just take as many photos as you need to have our subject be in focus, giving you more leverage when exposing your image. Well, that's focus stacking. If this is an idea that's useful to you, let me know in the comments section below. One thing I always like to talk about whenever I do kind of more in-depth photography tutorials like this is that a technique like this doesn't have much value to you if you don't know how to use your camera in kind of more of an intimate manual exposure way. And that describes you. That's totally okay. And I have a video that's perfect for you. It's called Advanced Miniature Photography, and you can find it linked right up there. Give it a watch, and then a technique like this will make more sense and have more value for you. Well, that's going to do it for this one, guys. If you like the channel and you want to support it, there's a link in the description that summarizes all the way that you can do that on my channel, namely a Patreon campaign with a bunch of fun rewards like a Discord server where you and I can hang out any day of the week, merchandise like cool t-shirts that have my logo on it, or an Amazon shopping link that you can use while shopping on Amazon. Subscribe or die! And most importantly, don't forget to...